Hello, you're listening to Hell Awaits, the straight podcast for heavy music and heavy weights. And we have the second interview. We're really privileged here. We're still at Warhorns. We are privileged to have, from Pallas Athena, we have James Horn. We have the guitarist from Pallas Athena. James, how are you doing?
Hello, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I'm doing very well. It's very warm.
It is.
And it's been even more warm being on stage in a cloak and whatnot. But yeah, now that we've done our show, it's...
How was it?
Not quite as warm. It went very well. It's probably the loudest show I think we've ever done because this is our first show with our new guitarist, Al. Because, well, he's called Alex, but our bassist is called Alex as well, so we need some sort of way to differentiate the two of them. But just the second he rang out the first chord, I was looking at my pedal board, I could see it vibrating. It never...
It was...
But
there were moments where it was just very, very loud.
Yeah, I was going to say it was just being sat inside, just being in the middle of it was quite the experience. But yeah, it went very well. The only issue I had was when it got to a solo, I suddenly realised my highest string had somehow gone off the fretboard and got wrapped around one of my pickups.
Oh wow!
So I got to the top of the solo, started it, and kind of went. There's supposed to be something here. I could just feel the board, and so it's just like, okay, we'll just blag it.
I was going to say, did people just assume you were doing some sort of mad Yngwie Malmsteen string bend?
But to say, because the solo itself is quite an odd one, so I think by all accounts, everybody said, we didn't notice anything, so it's all good. It's like, should have said anything. Sort
of solo Tom Morello might do. It's just noise I'm making. It was good. Well, I was fortunate enough to arrive in time to see it. So
yes.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. A really, really good show.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Really nice to see you guys with another guitarist, and I think it's probably the first time I've seen you with a drummer as well.
Yeah, because the last time we played a show with you was Halloween last year. Halloween.
Wow.
Yeah, 2018, and that was in York. And then obviously we did the Gothel Day with you at Rebellion, but you were on later in the evening than we were.
Yeah, we'd come back from Plymouth.
Oh, wow.
I think the night before. So
yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it was an exciting one for us.
Well, yeah, as I say, I saw your announcement that you're going to be doing, is it Portugal?
Yeah, we're at Under the Doom Festival.
Yeah, that's just great. It's always great when you see your friend's band going on to other shows, particularly in other countries.
It's really exciting for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're really fortunate to be playing with some big influences. Like obviously Paradise Lost are a huge influence on us. It's really, really great to be with them. Alcest I've loved for years.
So amazing. Absolutely.
But there's also some really good doom bands there, like Daylight Dies are from the USA, and I just never thought I would ever get to see them. So that's always a really good thing. That's really, really cool. But cool, let's talk about you. So, tell me a bit about who you are and tell me what you do.
Well, my name is James Horn. I live and work in Manchester. I work at the university as a research tech. And I am one of the founders and the guitarist and main songwriter, I suppose you'd say, in Pallas Athena with, Vicky Harley, who we both know. Before Pallas Athena, Vicky, Alex, and myself were all in a band called the Clockwork Opera, and that was where we all met. And then when Clockwork Opera split up, we then had a brief period off, and then said, when we were at Clockwork Opera, Vicky and I discussed doing another project that was a bit heavier. But then when the Clockwork Opera split, we said, okay, we'll do this as a proper thing.
Cool.
And with Pallas Athena, we now have, for the moment, a complete lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And today was our first show with our new guitarist, and maybe our fourth show with our new drummer.
Cool.
And so it's all coming together. And
you got an EP out?
Yes, we have our EP, The Awakening, which is available on all good streaming services after we had to censor the artwork. Alex, with his wonderful Photoshop skills, of just going, put some fig leaves on it, it'll be fine. And then thankfully got through. So now you can find it on Spotify and Apple Music and various other ones.
There's a really good, I think it's Impaled Nazarene. They've got an album that obviously got rejected because of its artwork. And so they have just really contemptuously like photoshopped in like a hand-drawn pair of Y fronts and a hand-drawn bra on these like 7 or 8 foot demons.
As long as they're covered, it's okay.
That's what they had to do just to get it past Spotify. It's amazing. Cool. So how long's the EP been out?
Wow. Puts me on the spot. I would hazard a guess and say probably about 6 months.
Okay.
And we are going to start working on new material now, because the biggest event coming up that we're preparing for was today. And now that we've finished, we can actually start looking at the other material. 2 of the songs we did play today, which will be on the EP, and thankfully they're done. I'm still in the process of tinkering with the other 3 and just trying to get them to a point where, well, the point where I'm happy is very different to the point where everyone else is happy. particularly because I have a penchant for torturing our drummer.
Right, okay.
Just send him the guitar profile and he just goes, oh no, not again. But it's, so our EP's been out about I'd say about 6 months.
Cool.
And the reception to it has been great, and the reception at shows has been brilliant as well. Even though we were discussing it earlier today, and we can't quite decide on an official date when we started.
Okay.
Because we kind of said, if you count the day when we said, let's do a band, that's a very different date to when we did our first show. Because our first show was in October, because the Halloween show was our second show.
Right.
So I think we might go with the first show, but
that's what for Petrichor. What we did was we just take it from the release date of the first album, because we cannot remember.
Yeah, that's it.
How long it took us to get from a room to a release, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because obviously you spend a lot of time together writing and bouncing your ideas back and forth. It's when you kind of say, like, when do we, put a mark on the calendar and say this is when it started officially.
Like for us, I think it was when did the world know we existed? When was the first noise we made? Yeah, and so we decided on the first album, because I think that makes a lot of sense. Our first show was like an album release show, which was good. Yeah. So they tie up in the same way. Yeah. Which is really cool. Let's talk about training. How long have you been training?
I've been going, probably 18 months now. At one point, I just got to a point where I kind of said, like, I need to lose some weight. Mm-hmm. And I started just doing lots and lots of cardio. Okay. And then when I spoke to someone I worked with, she does a lot of weightlifting. Mm-hmm. And she said, because I was complaining and saying that cardio is just so dull, even with music, even with TV, thanks to technology, I was still getting very bored. And she said, well, weightlifting is a bit different, but it will give you similar sort of effect, but there's much more variety, and there's a much better way to measure your progress. Yeah. Because obviously, if you set your cross trainer for an hour, mm-hmm. you're going to do it for an hour. There are very few things that you can measure as improvements, in inverted commas. Whereas with weight, it's very obvious when you are stronger, because you can move much greater weight.
And so, session to session, it's easy to track.
Yes, exactly. So I keep track of all my sessions on Evernote on my phone. Okay. And then if I can't remember, if I go back to an exercise that I haven't done in a while, I can kind of search and look for the last time I did it, and then I have an idea of what weight I was doing, and then if it's been a very long time, go a little bit below that. Yeah, makes sense.
I always think like cardio. I remember I got back in. Well, I say I got back in the gym. I got in the gym seriously like a few years ago, and was like, right, I'm going to run a 5K. That's what I'm going to do. And I did in the end. It was fun. But there are a lot of moments where, like, and you're right, it is so dull. Like you're running, or you're cycling, or you're doing any number of, rowing even, and you just think it doesn't matter what you do. If you're watching TV, if you're listening to music and really enjoying it, you still think I could probably enjoy this more if I was sat down. Yeah, like Like they're just moments where you think this is not fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm getting back into doing a bit of cardio, like say 30 minutes an evening.
Okay.
And that's enough to just put on an episode of something. Because at one point, when I was my most hardcore, I did this for about a month and I realised it was not a good idea.
Yep.
Was I was doing 6 days of weights
Wow.
in the mornings before work and at the weekends. And then in the evenings, I was doing an hour of cardio as well.
Wow. Jesus.
So, and I kept that up for about a month and I went, I can do this, but I don't think my sanity is going to last. And the fact that I just had no time for anything else, because obviously if you're doing cardio and you get home, by the time you've had dinner and got through the shower, you may as well, you're exhausted, don't feel in the mood to do anything. So anything else like writing music or rehearsals or anything, you're just not in the mood. So I kind of gave up on that because thinking more of the mental strain,
it's a lot of load.
Eventually,
and I often find that even people who are competing at a professional level don't train that in that sort of intensity.
One of my very bad habits is I usually if I'm interested in something, I usually dive very, very deep and I get very stuck in. And this was probably about a year in. I said, right, we're gonna see what we can do, just how much we can push ourselves. Okay, I can do this.
I think everyone does that as well. Like I think everyone goes through that phase as well. I think where people get into weightlifting and they really get into it, and they enjoy it, and that is and suddenly they've got this exciting thing that is good for them and is improving their health and their life, and they enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So the decision that the thing that they want to do is just do it all the time, and I agree. Like if it didn't actively harm my progress to do so, I would probably train 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Because I do enjoy it, right? So, but like, one of the real battles that people have to overcome is learning to turn off as much as as like showing up, right? So
I was going to say, it's this thing of make it, quality over quantity, essentially. When you do go, make it count. Don't, because obviously if you are going that often, eventually it is going to catch up, and you may not be pushing yourself as much as you possibly could.
Yeah, but also
might impair the progress.
You got to think like recovery is part of your training.
Exactly.
So you almost need to be as serious about eating and as serious about sleeping as you are about showing up and throwing some iron around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's always something that ends up tripping people up. I know I've tripped myself up where I'm like, okay, I'll go today. Oh, I'm really feeling it today. Let's go tomorrow, or let's do 3 in a row. And then, you fall off your program, because actually what happens is that you don't give yourself a chance to recover.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, as I say, at the end of the day, you need rest, you need recovery. And just when you look at the basic principle that you tear muscle fibers, they need time to repair.
Yeah.
Because originally I was going, say, when I was doing the 6 days a week, it was sort of arms, chest, legs, abs, back and shoulders.
Okay.
And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And even though it's a different area, you still need to use, your arms when you're loading up a squat rack and all that kind of thing. And
There's no way to bench press without working your shoulders.
Exactly. Yeah, and so when you have the sessions back close together, you can do it.
Yeah.
But you really start to feel the strain of it.
Your injury risk goes way up as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what. So what does your program look like now?
And so my program's toned down quite a bit. So I usually, I'm at the moment, I've fallen a bit out, but I'm trying to get back into it. I'm going to go with about 4 weight sessions a week. So 1 day on, 1 day off. So you get 8 sessions over the course of 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I said before, so it's usually arms and shoulders, legs and abs, and then shoulders and back. And in each of those, I always include a compound exercise. So it's bench press with the arms, squat with the legs, and deadlift with the back sessions. And then I'm getting back to the habit of just doing 30 minutes of cardio in the evenings, just to keep up. Because I used to do an hour, even with TV. It's so dull.
Yeah.
It really, half an hour is just the right amount of time, because also, thankfully, the supermarkets. I go to a gym in the very centre of Manchester, so if I need to to the supermarket for anything,
it's there.
It's very convenient.
Yeah.
So about 4 days a week, and then try to do cardio every day, but that's more of a mood kind of thing.
So, what's the overall goal for you for training?
It's the same as when I started. So it's to lose some weight. So when I started, I think it was about 93 kilos, and then the lowest I ever got when I was doing lots of cardio was I dropped to about 85, and now I hover between 88, 89, 90.
Okay.
And it just goes up and down at will. And then it's to kind of just lose any more fat and just look a bit more toned more than anything. Because I have various injuries, so I don't particularly want to risk doing any of the really extreme stuff, like powerlifting.
Yeah.
Where just because I've had because this is part of why, just going back to the previous band I was in, Opera, I played drums, and part of why it split was I just couldn't play drums anymore because I could, but I was becoming more and more and more at risk of injury.
Okay.
And obviously I just didn't want that anyway.
No.
And so I was going to have to give it up. And so those injuries do come up every now and then with weight training.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment it's just like of pushing myself just a little bit each time. So as I say, I can't. Well, the aims when I very first started were to do essentially be able to move my own weight in 3 compound exercises.
Okay.
And obviously squat and deadlift are okay aren't too bad. It was reaching bench, and I've managed to bench 90 kilos.
So benching your own body weight is tough.
That was my ultimate goal, and I can't do it now because I'm out of practice. But the fact that I have managed to do it was probably my biggest goal when I started, and so I was very pleased to do that. And now it's just, as you say, it's this. I just enjoy it for what it is.
Yep.
It's because it's good for you, enjoyable.
Yep.
And with music stuff as well, it gives me a real chance to catch up, because obviously when I saw your post on Facebook and you listed all the albums that had come out this weekend.
Yeah.
And it's that, because new music's coming out continually, it's just trying to find the opportunity to just catch up on everything. And the gym is a great way to do it.
Yep.
And also when you're doing weights, if you kind of hear something that piques your interest, you can get to the end of your set and look on your phone and see, oh, it's this band, okay, and then save them and that whatnot.
Do you have any like just iconic gym classics in terms of albums or songs?
It's really weird because my taste is very, very varied, but it's kind of depending what mood I'm in. If I go to the gym angry, if I'm in a bad mood and I just want to really move it, I listen to a lot of like American hardcore, just because it's, drop chords, just arrogant.
Yeah.
Like Throwdown is one of my absolute favourites. The Vendetta, is it Vendetta album?
I like is it Haymaker?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is for lack of a better, it is 100% caveman music.
Oh yeah.
But I just love it. It just it's the same with punk. It's not complicated, and if you listen to the music of Pallas Athena, you can tell I like writing complicated stuff. But I like, if you're not kind of anything like kind of hardcore slam.
Yeah.
Like like a lot of Ingested, because a homegrown band who are doing very, very well, that kind of thing. But then if I'm in it's usually on Spotify they have the Made for You playlist.
Yep. And
the point, because I listen to a lot of Japanese bands,
yep,
gonna say the playlist made we call "Look at You," because it's just all these Japanese bands, and there's plenty of the ones, like one of my absolute favorite bands of all time is a Japanese symphonic power metal band called Galnerius,
right?
And they're just one of these bands who consistently put out good material. They're all like world-class players, and they just keep churning out the stuff. And like, that's really good. But again, it's a similar thing with the hardcore. It's got the sort of
the pace.
Yeah, it's got that the kind of 2-step beat, and it just gives you that.
Yeah.
energy, and obviously I know a lot of people like dance music, but with particularly heavy bass, as almost like a tempo for it. But it's usually American hardcore, slam, that kind of thing. What's the other one? Analepsy or analepsy, I don't know. Yeah. And just something with really dirty production. Yeah. A snare drum that cuts through the mix, and just that real sort of kind of to it.
I'm definitely with you on metallic hardcore.
Yeah.
I like so one of my favourite gym bands is Hatebreed.
Oh, yes. Another great example is they are the bands like if you would because you like if someone was to say, tell me about hardcore, what band? And it's always that question like, what band would you give to someone who doesn't know anything about it?
Yeah.
And it's like, what would you give them for hardcore? Hatebreed.
Yeah.
You just go like they go. That's all you need to know.
Listen to this incredibly positive, but also really dumb shit.
That's part of why I love. That's why I love hardcore, because everybody kind of goes like, oh god, they must be angry. It's like, no, they're saying, stand up for yourself. It's still the ideas of punk. It's just tuned a lot lower and with a lot more distortion.
I get really fired up.
Exactly.
If I need a bit of help in the gym.
Oh, absolutely. Hatebreed is another great one.
I like dumb, ignorant death metal.
Oh, yeah.
Sepultura.
Yeah.
I was a very big fan.
I've been getting super duper into gruesome.
Okay,
lately,
good. Deathlight.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. When I first heard them, I kind of went, if I want to listen to Early Death, I'll listen to Early Death. But then, obviously, there were only so many albums that they made before Chuck changed over to that much more shrill vocal style, and it became the much proggier entity. So it's like, I'm fine with another band coming on board, because they do have kind of the slightly proggier elements, but they have that absolutely filthy 90s production, which I just love so much. And it's the same on the early Cannibal Corpse records. It's just there's just something about it. It's just so crunchy.
They're really honest about it as well. Like I saw them at Wacken one year, and they basically describe themselves as a death cover band.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, really honest about what their one influence is.
Yeah, and with that sort of thing, as I say, it's that because like if in a couple of albums they suddenly start going super duper proggy, we know they are death reincarnated. Exactly. But it's just that really rough, ready kind of thing. And it's the same with hardcore. Like for the Haymaker album, that's really rough and ready in terms of production.
Definitely. Yeah. Very posy as well. I really like the positives, like hardcore stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the gym, it feels really good. And what else do I like? Celtic Frost.
Yeah, always good.
Filthy riffs is what I want to hear.
So Celtic Frost is one that I've overlooked a bit, but I know about them because I absolutely adore Triptychon.
Right, okay.
I absolutely love Triptychon.
They've got like one album that is basically a Triptychon album.
Right, okay. But it's still Tom G. Warrior, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's Tom like doing it's basically a Triptychon album, and it's really good. But they're early. They've had so many eras. They're like Bathory in that sense. Like they've had these different. They even had like a glam era. It wasn't very good, but they did have a glam era. But like their early stuff, is so obviously he did Hellhammer, and then formed Celtic Frost, and they've got an album called Morbid Tales, and it's just filthy death metal.
All right, I'm checking that one out.
Full of riffs, and it's really, really good. But it's a completely different band from that. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the album, but the one with the H.R. Geiger cover that everyone knows. And
because they always use H.R. Geiger for the two albums. Certainly, I don't know what they used for the Shatter EP, but I can't even say Esperita Demoness was the first one, and then Melana Cosmata, something along those lines for the second one. And I say they both got Geiger because Tom G. Warrior was friends with Geiger himself. Yeah. And he actually went to his funeral when Geiger died, unfortunately.
Well, didn't know that.
Oh yeah, did you say they were very close friends from what I could tell.
Yeah, I would say it was like it was a definite shift.
Yeah.
For them, like they've had some very different eras. So what's next for Pallas Athena?
So we're working on new material. We hope to have a new EP out next year.
Okay.
We are currently... We put out a call for producers and whatnot. We've got a few that we've listened to, and we're just narrowing it down. And one of the ones that I personally am particularly excited to work with has worked a lot with My Dying Bride.
Wow, okay.
And so, because the biggest problem we have is because we have so many different sounds.
Yep.
Because if we were just a black metal band, or if we were just a symphonic metal band, it'd be but it's finding someone who has the Venn diagram that covers orchestral and then extended ranges and multiple arrangements. And so this guy, because obviously with My Dying Bride, there are some examples of these elements all coming together and working really well. Because I can record pretty good sounding demos at home, but I cannot mix to save my life. And that's part of the problem we have with the live backing tracks, because it's all, well, originally when it was just the three of us, we played to a drum track live. So it's trying to get the drums balanced with the other guitar parts and to get it all balanced. I can't do it to save my life. I'm happy to admit I can't do it. So and I'm happy to admit that I just don't know much about recording.
Right.
And so and then we've got shows. We've got another couple of shows. Got another 3 shows this year. Okay. Off the top of my head. We've got September the 21st in Manchester, which is a charity show Vicky's organising called Riffs for Revolution.
Oh yeah, heard about
which
that.
is the headliners are Dakisis, who are an amazing power metal-y kind of band from down south. We played a show with them a while back in Bristol.
Okay.
And then we've also got other bands on there like Kaios Martyr, who are kind of a slightly genty prog band from Manchester. It's got lots of bands with female members coming in. Okay. And the money from that will be going to I think it's the Pankhurst Trust it's called, which helps women who are in danger. We then got a show with Godthrim.
Cool.
Which is I think they're having to change the venue, but that's obviously the messages are flying around. Yep. And then the other one we've got in October, we have a show in Bolton at the Alma, which is an all-dayer organised by John Badger, who is a stalwart of the promoter scene in Manchester. And then the rest of it is just getting used to each other. Vicky's off for a week now, so the rest of the band will gather together and we'll start looking at these ideas I've got and then seeing how these things go. As I say, we've got two of the songs we played today, so they are done and in the bag. They're sorted in terms of writing. And then it's just a question of more shows. And just carrying on.
Cool. So,
business as usual.
Bit more writing. Release the EP. Well, find someone who you want to work with. Yep. Then release that EP. Yeah. Tour to support it.
Yep.
Nice. Cool. What's your training goals look like these days?
The main one is to, as I say, if I could get back up to benching my own weight, that would be great. Because at the moment I can bench about 70 kilos quite comfortably. Yeah. And that's for maybe, say, 3 sets of 6, 3 sets of 8, depending how energetic I'm feeling. But again, for me, as I say, with these various injuries, so for example, both my shoulders are double jointed. They can both slip out, and I've had it slip out before when I was doing a shoulder press with 24 kilos in each hand, and the shoulder went, and I nearly castrated myself with the weight. Thankfully, it missed the particularly bad area, but it was still very... And then obviously with any kind of injury to a joint, it just all the strength just vanishes in an instant. And so, as I say, it's those kinds of things like trying to get back up to my old records, which are like deadlifting about 150, squatting 120. Okay. So to get back up to that, and then it's just pushing it further, but again, within the realms of being sensible. Okay. I don't want to injure myself, and particularly with Pallas Athena, I'm terrified of injuring my hands. I'm absolutely terrified. But it's like in the past I was pushing it so hard, and I don't know what it was. Thankfully, it went away, but it felt like my bones in my arm, my forearms were burning. Right. And I wonder if it was kind of like shin splints that runners get. Yeah. These like tiny little fractures, but it just felt like it was burning. I had to take about a week off. Right. And I think it's because I was just pushing far too hard. Yeah. And it's that
you can get like basically too much lactic acid build up.
Yeah.
and it doesn't drain fast enough.
That's the thing. It's like if it was muscle, it's fine, but it's like the actual bones were burning.
Right.
That was the weird thing. Yes, because obviously it's muscle. You kind of go, I've overdone it, but it's the fact it's just burning in the bones themselves. It was terrifying.
A bit of trapped nerve or something like that.
Yeah, it was horrifying. It was scary. Thankfully, when I stopped for a week, when I was sensible and said, right, we'll take a week off.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it went away.
Cool.
But it was a very important lesson.
Tell me about your approach to diet and nutrition.
Non-existent. Either that or I sneak up behind it before it can see me and grab it. So in terms of bodybuilding, I've tried to do the diet side of it. I just can't do it. I felt so unwell.
Yep.
I just felt so ill. I said I can't do this, and it's not worth going to work and feeling rotten. So but generally I eat very well for the most part. Obviously we all slip up every now and then. But the main thing is I usually have a protein shake in the morning.
Okay.
Whether or not I've been to the gym. Just to kind of keep everything ticking over.
Yep.
And then say I used to eat terribly, and that's where it was at that point that I realised I needed to lose some weight because I was getting through a couple of packets of biscuits a day.
Right.
Because a lot of it was stress eating because of the job I was in at the time. Yep. It was very stressful, but
it's easy to do as well. Like
very easy.
Particularly high calorie, low density foods like biscuits and things like that.
Yeah, and sugar's delicious.
And yeah, exactly, right? So like you could easily put away a packet of biscuits, but then if you measure the calories, it's like 1,000 calories.
Yeah, it's just
and if you tried to eat like 1,000 calories of chicken, you would be sick.
Yeah, well, there was a great article from, I think it's like BuzzFeed or something, we said, we try, 3 of our members of staff tried to eat the same diet as The Rock.
Ha! Yeah, absolutely.
And they kind of only went, well, breakfast at, 5 a.m. is essentially dinner.
Yeah.
And then a second breakfast at 7:30, it's dinner again. And it's that kind of, because I remember reading it, and the article came up before I'd started at the gym, and I was just looking going,
yeah, he eats a lot of calories.
And it's just, don't get me wrong, I love eating. I love food. I don't drink, so food is the one pleasure I have.
Yep.
But just the idea of eating that much all the time and going to the gym, just thinking about it's exhausting.
It's hard work.
But as I said, I generally eat pretty well, plenty of fruit and whatnot, and I generally try to stay away from overly sugary things like soft drinks and whatnot. But sadly, my approach to nutrition is abysmal.
So there's a few different schools of thought when it comes to nutrition, particularly for strength building.
Yeah.
They pretty much all agree that you have to be in a caloric surplus.
Yep.
To gain strength in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
But there's lots of different schools of thought on how you would do that.
Yeah.
So like you'd see like a lot of athletes that are particularly strength focused end up eating what they call a vertical diet.
Okay.
Vertical diet is
you have a tube and it just comes down and you just pour it all down for you.
Well, the idea is that you currently eat a horizontal diet, which is that you eat not a lot of different things. So you have some vegetables.
Oh, right. Okay, I see what you mean, yes.
Rice, and you might have lots of carb sources. You might have rice one day, potatoes the next.
Yeah.
You might have lentils the day after. But you're getting your carb sources from a horizontal platform, if that makes sense. There's lots of different stuff on it.
Yeah, it's like a buffet.
Yeah.
Like it's all spread out. It'll spread out before you.
And a vertical diet is you pretty much eat the same thing almost for every meal. Yeah,
because that's the stereotype for bodybuilders. It's chicken and rice or chicken and broccoli for every meal.
Like generally speaking, it's like you'll see like strength athletes will eat like it's usually low fat ground beef.
Yeah.
Rice, and some vegetables, and they will eat that like 8 times a day.
Yeah.
So that's how they do it. But the reason that works for them, obviously, normal people don't have to eat like that.
No.
But the reason that works for them is that they're periodizing their intake.
Yeah.
So if your body can only absorb so much of anything at one time, right? You have a threshold beyond which everything goes to waste because your body doesn't need it anymore, doesn't think it doesn't need it, and also just can't store it.
Yeah, of course.
So The problem is that if you need to take in a massive amount of protein, let's say you have to take 250 grams, something like that, which is a lot of protein over a course of a day, you're not going to be able to do that in 3 meals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's just going to get to the point where the body said, like, well, at the moment, I only need 60.
Yeah.
The other 190, we don't need, so we'll just get rid of that.
Exactly. You'll eat it, and even if you manage to eat it, you will just excrete it somehow.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like energy drinks. Like people say, if you keep drinking energy drinks, you're going to reach a peak effective level of caffeine, and the body's going to say, we're at capacity. Yeah. Let's get rid of it. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly, and that is part of this thing of understanding. It is part of where the science of it all is so helpful. Is just to say your body can only do this. So you need to change, for example, to have a vertical diet.
Yeah. A lot of people like so at the moment the way I eat is that I would eat probably 4 or 5 times a day, but they're not as big as a normal meal.
Yeah,
that's probably what I would do at the moment. But but there's a lot of different schools of thoughts. Obviously, the old school of thought would literally eat as many fucking carbs as you can and just go for it.
See, now that's a school of thought I can get behind.
And it's like literally like you're going to the gym at 6 a.m, so you've got to get up at 4 to cook pasta. Like,
yeah. I was going to say because I say when I can, I like to get up at like 4:30 and get to the gym for 5 because I cannot describe how much I hate the gym when it's busy.
Yeah.
It drives me bonkers because there are plenty of people there who are doing what they need to, doing it properly and whatnot. Yep. But then you'll always see someone taking a machine and they're just sat on the phone for about 10 minutes and it's like, please move.
Yep.
But obviously, being English, you don't want to say, oh.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. Please leave.
Yeah, and it's just like, and it's like the gym I go to, because it's in the city centre as well, it's like there are next to no residents there.
Yeah.
So it's all, I think the most people I've ever seen at 5 a.m. is like 300 people.
Good.
And it's just lovely and quiet, and then I can take my time.
Yep.
Obviously, when it's busy, you just have that stress of knowing everybody's kind of watching you, waiting for you to get off. Yeah, your squat rack or your bench.
Yeah.
And it's just that chance to breathe, to kind of say, particularly with new exercises.
Yep.
Where you can get very lightweight and say, like, really focus on the movement and and make sure you are, because one of the other problems I see, and particularly when you go when it's busy, people who've kind of read the bare minimum and swing their arms and this kind of thing with a barbell, and it's like no, you have to. Sure, you can lift whatever weight it is.
Yep.
By using your pelvis, for example, to give it that extra bit of push.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to work the arms. You have to just use the arms. And that was one of the things I wish I'd known starting out, that you have to really concentrate, and particularly with things like deadlift and squats, you also have to be very careful just because of your back.
Yeah.
And then you see these people, like the one that always goes through me and I can't look, I have to look away, is when you see people locking legs on the leg press. I can't, I've seen too many videos of it going horribly wrong. I just look at it and go like, oh, no, I can't look. I can't. I probably should tell them, but I can't go near it. It just.
I'm starting to get really anti-machine generally.
Okay.
Like in the gym, like I like barbell training.
Oh yeah.
I'm starting to get really anti-machine because of the exact reason you've just described. That person has just locked themselves into a really unnatural range of motion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. As I say, because I prefer the free weight, but I do like the machines for very specific things. Like one of my first big goals, as I say, originally it was the compound exercise for my own weight, but on the leg press. I don't know if it's not the vertical, it's the one that's at like a 45-degree angle.
Right.
The fact that I could go super duper heavy on that.
Yeah.
And when you start out, feels like a real accomplishment.
Yeah.
Even though obviously it's still an accomplishment, but when you learn a bit more about it, you kind of go, well, it's a very specific movement. But when you first start out and you don't know anything, you feel great.
You've got the big wheels on.
Yeah, exactly. And you start going, I can do 250. No problem.
300 kilogram leg press.
Yeah, exactly. You feel brilliant.
Which sort of leads me on to this next one then. Yep. So what are the top 3 things you wish you knew before you started training?
So personally, it's know your limits, but more specifically for me, it's be aware of your potential injuries, because like, for example, the left head, on my left quad, the side towards my knee is a bit knackered.
Okay.
And that's part of why I had to do drugs, because it was just so painful to play any double kick work.
Yeah.
And then, as I say, I've got I broke my right leg many years ago and I've got a pin in it, so I can't do any running exercises. So I can't go on a treadmill because I'm too worried about injuring it.
Yeah.
And in shoulders, and these sorts of, be very aware of your injuries. Don't let this sort of thing. Don't think because you've got these injuries they prevent you from doing it, but just be a lot more careful. And the other one was also, and this ties into the getting up at goodness knows what time. Take your time. When you're starting a new exercise, pick up a 2 kilogram weight and just learn it really slowly. Because I think part of the problem is when, for example, when exercise is portrayed in movies, for example, it's usually the only movie where it shows anything realistically is the documentary Pumping Iron. Where that literally shows you, Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day, and it shows you him doing the exercises really slowly and really concentrated. Whereas in regular Hollywood movies, it's edited super duper fast. Yeah. It's put as being very intense. Yeah. And so people just assume that, for example, if you do a lateral raise, you literally just put your arms up and down like you're doing a jumping jack. Yeah, exactly. Whereas actually, you need to have the bend in the elbows and you need to kind of really feel which areas are being worked. And and obviously they always have, well, more often not have actors who are ripped anyway. Yeah. So they know what they're doing. Well, and they can do it quickly.
Whenever you see anyone lifting weights in media, generally speaking, they are a professional.
Yeah,
and usually they're at the top of their sport. Let's say that you're you're looking at like a powerlifting competition or the Olympics or the world's strongest man, right?
Yeah, they are the top.
They're the best. And they are a combination of things. Firstly, there are very few people who go to those events and do very well that didn't start training younger than 19.
Yep. Absolutely.
They definitely didn't start in their 30s.
Yep.
Right? They started when they were almost. They definitely started as teenagers. And secondly, if it's the world's strongest man or bodybuilding or even some powerlifting federations, they're almost certainly on performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those are untested. And to be at that level, if you don't take them, everyone else is.
Yeah, so, well, that's always an interesting question. Because, like, for example, I was talking to someone about I can never say his name, Halfthor Bjornsson. The Mountain.
Yep.
And we're just saying, like, God, he works hard. I was like, yeah, but he'll be on.
He's on the gear.
Yeah, he'll be on the stuff because I say humans do not put that unless. So there is a very, and I mean exceptionally rare mutation in humans, which is for a molecule called somatostatin.
Yeah.
Basically, somatostatin has been exploited by cattle farmers for
cows.
Years. Yeah,
Belgian
and exactly.
Yeah.
And so if you have somatostatin controls muscle growth. So if someone either has reduced expression of it or is worryingly enough null for it, they don't express it at all, you end up having, and there are examples of, like, I think there was a kid in Germany, and when he was 2 years old he could lift his mother.
Yeah.
Like there's just this ripped baby like a medieval painting. Like this like absolutely massive baby. And people go, wow, that's great. It's like, yeah, except for all the other muscles, like all the muscle in his blood vessels and his heart and his lungs. But like with Halfthor Bjornsson, he's clearly, it's like nobody.
He's on the juice.
Can put that kind of weight on.
I know he's on the juice because he said he was.
Right, fair enough. But the other annoying thing with media is they'll go, this man does weights, and you kind of go, are you going to elaborate? Are they a world's strongest man contender? Are they a bodybuilder? And it's like the three big ones are completely different.
Yeah.
And like, because you look at what's his name? Is it Eddie
Hall?
Yeah, the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like people would look at him and say he's fat. It's like, no, he's just got so much, because like everybody assumes that if you go to the gym or not, you'll have that bodybuilder physique and the chiseled abs, and it's like, no, for pure strength training, it's all muscle.
Yeah, like watch The World's Strongest Man. They are fat dudes, right? And they're all like refrigerator-sized men.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a lot of reasons why they do that, but mainly because they don't have any aesthetic goals. They're not entering physique competitions.
Yeah.
And to put on muscle, you need a surplus of calories. But for every, let's say, 5 pounds of muscle they put on, they might put on a pound of body fat.
Yeah, this is one of my big ones. So I've got a friend who I got into the gym. He lives up in the Lake District, in Carlisle, I want to say. But he doesn't understand how I'm envious of him and he's envious of me, because I can so much as breathe and I will put on muscle and fat, particularly fat. And I find it very, very difficult to lose fat, partly why with trying to get the cardio just to get primarily stuff from the stomach to get rid of it. But truncal fat is insulin resistant, so it's particularly hard to get rid of. But for him, he sometimes just breathes and he loses weight.
Yeah,
he's so skinny, and he messaged me one day. He was fuming because he lost half a kilo overnight. Yeah. And this guy, and he's doing the diet. He's doing several thousand calories a day, and he just can't. I think he's put on maybe a couple of kilos of muscle in a year.
They would call that a hard gainer.
That's it. Yeah.
That's what that style is called.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, if I so much as look at a bit of sugar, I'll start putting on fat.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
And
okay.
But it's always funny because, for example, like, he can't understand how I can. But the fact that I bench, that I've managed to bench like 90, 100 kilos kind of thing. Whereas when he started, he could do the bar.
Yeah.
And it's sort of going like, well, yeah, and saying like, I'd love to be that skinny.
Yeah.
I'd love to be that thin. But my body type serves its own advantages, as well as having its own shortcomings.
There's people who are hard gainers and are trying to put on muscle have to do bizarre things. Like,
exactly.
Traditionally, they used to make them drink a gallon of whole milk a day, because that has the perfect fat, protein, carb ratio.
Yeah, well, because for a while I did do my protein shakes with whole milk, and it was delicious. It was great. I loved it. And then at one point, I became very, very conscious about calories, and then tried doing it with water, and it was too depressing. So I went, okay, we'll go back to skimmed milk, and that was too depressing. So now I just use semi-skim now.
Okay.
But using whole milk, that was a wonderful time. I enjoyed that time.
Well, at his biggest, right? So you mentioned Eddie Hall. When Eddie Hall was training for the World's Strongest Man, the year he won, he was eating a family-sized cheesecake every day.
Again, that's the kind of diet I can get behind.
Half in the morning, half at night.
and cheesecake is rich.
Oh yeah,
that's the extra challenge.
Like, he was having to do stuff just to get more calories in that people would any doctor would tell you is a terrible idea. Like he was having he's saying like his wife used to make really nice spaghetti bolognese, but she had to cut up like whole packets of bacon into it for him just to get the calories
just to
in.
Get the calories. And say that for me, that's the one area that I'm really but it's like when I first started, I wanted to go for the full Arnie kind of being ripped thing. At the moment, I'm happy to settle for just a bit more toned and like.
Bodybuilding's a different discipline, though.
And that's what I mean. It's really weird because it's not in music. You can usually move between genres with relative ease, particularly in the metal world, because as long as you know your power chords, jobs are good for the most part.
Yep.
Whereas with those kinds of things, they are such different disciplines.
Yep.
It's like I know next to nothing about powerlifting, except I always have horrible images in my head of joints going the wrong way, all that kind of thing, because it's impressive to watch them get however many kilos above their head, but you kind of go, because I've seen the Olympic ones, and you kind of go, okay, hands over eyes, I can't, they're at the top, and they put it down without ruining their arms.
Olympic lifts are really strange, they're not as strong as power lifters,
but
they have a different type of strength. They have explosive strength, whereas power lifters are strong, but slowly. So,
okay.
So
I see what you mean.
If you're doing Olympic lifts, there's two main types of Olympic lifts, which is the clean and the snatch.
Yep.
The clean is it starts out as a deadlift and then it's sort of caught in a rack position on the shoulders like a front.
Yeah.
front squat, and then the snatch pretty much goes directly overhead.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
of. And then it's squatted up.
That's one where I see things breaking.
And they're really technique dependent.
Yeah.
So their technique has to be perfect, because if it isn't, they can't lift that weight.
Yeah, and it can be evident very quickly if it isn't right.
Yeah, exactly. Because they will not rack it, they won't catch it or whatever. Whereas powerlifters have a bit more tolerance, but the weight's much higher. So to lift like 320 kilos in a deadlift, if it takes you 5 seconds, fine.
Yeah.
Whereas if you tried to do a clean in 5 seconds, it's not coming off the floor. Because you have to accelerate the bar.
Yeah.
Whereas on a deadlift, it just needs to go up. So, and they're different disciplined in that sort of respect. But bodybuilding is radically different. And often you see people who are like, what do you want to do? I want to get strong. And then they do a bodybuilding program, which is...
Yeah.
Bodybuilding is not to get you strong. It's to get you big.
Yeah, exactly. It's more aesthetic. Because I started watching it, and I think it was Vice did a series where they kind of said, okay, here we have a CrossFit person, we have a bodybuilder, we have a powerlifter, and we have a strength
athlete.
Like a strength-based athlete. We're going to put them through a bunch of tests.
Yep.
We're going to see what happens. And the powerlifter was this rake thin guy and he was like the Olympic, one of the Olympic powerlifters for Mexico.
Right.
But this guy was so skinny. He was looking at like a breeze would take him away.
Generally are like
but it's that kind of thing. But you assume that they'll have a physique, like a big physique, like the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating when you see it. I never got around to finishing watching, but it was interesting just because they're all saying like where they know they're going to come up short.
Yeah.
Because like the
posing.
Well, yeah, exactly.
How do you pose with no muscles?
Yeah. But it's like with the CrossFit guys, like, yeah, it's all fine to go with CrossFit. You've got the endurance. But it's like any kind of powerlifting stuff where it is very technique dependent. Whereas like with bodybuilding, it's very technique dependent because you've got to get the lift right to make sure that you are working those muscles. And then they're all just completely different. It just seems it seemed like a bit of a stupid idea, if I'm being honest, because it's like, okay, let's see what runs faster, a dog, a cat, a chicken, or an ostrich. It's they're completely different. It's like, it's like when certain people in the metal community go, oh well, these new bands or whatever, oh well, God, it's not better than Metallica. It's like they're different.
Yeah,
it's like comparing a sprinter to a marathon runner. You just it's these people just draw these bizarre conclusions. It's like you can't compare them.
Yeah,
and it's just that kind of discipline and it's understanding
like
the basic ideas.
It gets even more complicated as well. So Arnie, probably the most famous bodybuilder in the world.
Yeah.
Probably. Not the biggest.
Oh, no.
Absolutely not. But perhaps the most well-known, and certainly did more, I think, to introduce bodybuilding to the general population.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even to introduce weight training to the general population than just about anyone else. So, he did, obviously, pumping iron's a big thing. He wrote the Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding, which is considered to be the book if you want to be a bodybuilder.
Right, okay.
That's the thing that you start with, which is, it's interesting. It is a good read. But Arnie started as a powerlifter. Because in that sort of era, physique competitions weren't really a thing.
Yeah, it's like, as horrible as it sounds, they are a very American kind of thing.
Yeah.
And obviously with Venice Beach in LA,
California,
where it's very famous for all the bodybuilders.
That's why he moved there. So he was a powerlifter in Austria, but wanted to get into that sort of physique side of things. And it was sort of only really being done in the West Coast. And so he moved to America, did some real estate stuff, got some money, then really focused on bodybuilding. But he came to bodybuilding with the body and discipline of a powerlifter.
Right.
So he is an odd example for bodybuilding. And a lot of people think, I'm going to get strong. Arnie was strong. Arnie was lifting 40 kilograms.
And again, we're back to this thing of the people who produce the seminal work or become the paragon of something.
Yeah.
They become the artists. Like, you can't...
It's very different. But also, what Arnie did was a powerlifter that went into aesthetic bodybuilding and completely changed his nutrition and completely changed his program to be a better bodybuilder and left powerlifting behind. What he didn't do was enter bodybuilding because it would get him strong. So, like, when you're a bodybuilder, what you need to do is you need to, like, what grows muscles, what creates hypertrophy is high repetitions at a medium weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Not lifting the most that you can for 5. And the reason it works really well for hypertrophy is that some of the things that cause muscle growth are removed from the muscle naturally as the muscle breaks down.
Yeah.
When you bodybuild, you create vascular constriction, or the pump, as it's better known, in the muscle, and it forces those compounds to stay in the muscle longer, which creates greater muscle growth. So bodybuilders are trying to get the pump in every muscle that they're training that day, because that tells them they are going to get the biggest size increase out of it.
Yeah, and this is where I do come up a bit short, because for me, so like for example, when I do bench presses, I obviously warm up, do quite a few reps with just the bar, just to get just remind the muscles that they are in for a hard time.
Yep.
And then usually, and this is a bit of Arnie's advice, he did a great series of videos for it was a weightlifting website.
Okay.
And it was kind of like a brief summary, and he said like, oh, this is what I would do. And he said that he would, for example, would do like say a landmine press or whatever, and he would have say 3 plates on, and he'd do a set of reps, 3 sets of whatever with the 3 plates, get someone to take it off while he's still holding on, and then just go again, and then hold on, and so there's next to no break.
Yeah.
And so I don't go to those extremes, but what I do is I'll say, so if it's a 20 kilogram bar, I'll say have, let's do some maths, say 2 10s and a 5 on each side. And I'll say do 3 sets of 6 at 70, take the 5s off, then maybe do 3 sets of 6 or 3 at 8, and then like keep increasing the numbers of reps as I go, as the weight comes down.
Yep.
And I find that's a really good all-round exercise, but I feel that might be, it's not on either, not leaning strong enough to one side. In the sense, but for me, as I say, it's more just to kind of be healthy and that sort of thing. And it
that's
me,
a hypertrophy workout that you've described.
It is. Excellent.
The inverse pyramid is a hypertrophy workout.
Yeah, and it's saying it's really good because I probably could go heavy with the bench, but again, I don't want to risk it. Thankfully, it's the forward motion isn't too bad. It's like shoulder presses, military presses. That's where I start to where I'm very lacking.
Okay.
Because I think the heaviest I've ever done a military press is maybe 30 kilos, and even then that was. I could feel my shoulder really was not having any of it.
The best way I have found to train shoulders is a strict overhead press with a barbell.
Yeah.
But you have to get. I'll send you some videos.
Yeah,
you have to get the form right. Because it's the form that protects your shoulders. So it's part of it is like the last part of the movement has to be overhead and has to be a shrug. Because what the shrug does is it turns the scapulae of the shoulder and stops shoulder impingement.
Right, okay. Yeah, so because I thought, cause with many of these exercises, sure, it's hard to move them. But sometimes if it's like, you can tell there's something not... Because like, for example, if I'm God forbid, not concentrating during a squat, I might get to the top and go, okay, there's something wrong with my back.
Yeah.
And then take a couple of minutes, stretch out my back, and then go back to it, and then just obviously really keep an eye on it because nobody wants to injure their back.
Yeah.
And so getting back to the original play, that's point 1. Well, that way this thing of, let's say, be very very aware of limitations, and for me to be aware of my injuries and what might be. Well, the second is to say it takes time.
Yep.
Which is one that really annoyed me because when I first started, I could do me several hundred kilos on my leg press and all this and the other. Like, oh, I'm doing great, excellent.
I'm strong now.
Yeah, and then at one point I had a very minor meltdown because I thought the discs were marked for pounds rather than kilos because so the plates had markings on for kilos. Yeah. But the stands were old and had it marked in pounds. Okay. So I thought it was in pounds. So I had a very minor, and by minor I mean massive. I'd be saying by minor I mean massive breakdown. Thinking, I've only done half as much. Well, less than half. and then when somebody, because I said to a friend, they got annoyed and they went, "No, I've looked at it. It's fine." Yeah. Okay, we'll just pretend this meltdown didn't happen. And the other one is, there's always been an issue for me with exercise. Is do stuff you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because you say no, we don't want to. If we didn't have to, we wouldn't exercise.
Yep.
Because humans are very, very lazy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna do it, you may as well do something that you are going to enjoy. Someone I work with has made this complaint about the gym, saying that there's plenty of things they can do, but they just don't find it enjoyable. It's like, well, keep looking, keep trying different things. You'll find something that you enjoy. And it's gonna make your life just infinitely easier to have something you really enjoy. And for me, I enjoy the weights because it's just that I don't get the endorphin rush, which is very odd. Because apparently it doesn't happen to people. I've never had an endorphin rush. I usually just pray for death when I come out of the gym. But it's usually for me the sign that I've had a good workout is when I get into the shower and try to touch my shoulder and go. that kind of thing, or like when, because one of my I work in a lab, and one of our PhD students said, "Oh, I've got a leg exercise for you, calf raises." Yep. And they said, so you go on a Smith machine, you get like an aerobics bench, and you stand on that, and you just like go up on your tiptoes. I'm like, cool, fine. Did it, and for anyone starting out at the gym, obviously, if you exercise something you've never exercised before, the muscle just goes into complete meltdown.
Yep.
The only way I could walk without it hurting my calves was to walk like a velociraptor with the benny. So walking around the University of Manchester, like going, well, people looking, he's only doing half the raptor impression. He isn't doing the hands, and I screamed getting out of the chair because it was so painful, and that's the other one. So that stuff's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
If you're doing it right, it's probably going to hurt, and that's okay as long as it's not. It's going to ache.
Yeah.
As long as it's not painful in like, when you slip with a knife in the kitchen or something.
Yep.
As long as it's not painful, it's going to ache. It's probably going to burn.
Yep.
But it's these sorts of things, just like
aching is normal.
Yeah.
And also, if you train through it, and it should get better.
Yeah, and that's the other one. It hurt. Go back. You have to. Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean you can stop. You've got to.
Yep.
You've got to power through, because once you've powered through, it becomes easier.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't ache anymore. Not after.
Exactly. I've had the aches every now and then, but that's because I've been quite out of practice with it.
Yep.
But I'm sure once I get back into it, it's going to be business as usual.
Like if I take a week off or 2 weeks off, when I come back, there'll be a little bit of soreness.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I go 3 times a week, there is no soreness. I think that's true for everyone. Your body is adapting in a lot of ways.
Well, that was one of the things in this Arnie video. He said, you need to keep changing up this particularly with regards to hypertrophy. You have to keep changing up your exercises because your body can adapt surprisingly quickly to these things.
I love Arnie so much.
I find it the only thing. So at my the old lab I used to work at, we had a PhD student there who I learned about bodybuilding from.
Okay.
And because I said, like, I would ask him all the stupid questions you ask when you don't know. It's like, is it true you eat a ridiculous amount? And he kind of went through his diet when he was a bodybuilder, and I was like, oh God, I feel sick just hearing about it. Because he said, like, oh yeah, it would be chili for breakfast. You get through, a few liters of whole milk. And I was like, bleh.
Yeah.
But he introduced me to pumping iron.
Yeah.
And he just sent me the clip and it haunts my nightmares of Arnie going like, I get the feeling of coming into the gym. I get the feeling of coming in the shower. Yeah. It's like, oh, Arnie, I love you, but please stop. I can't.
I love the pump.
That
feels so good. It feels like coming. Thanks, Arnie. Yeah. There's so many good moments. Like, I always think that Arnie's voice is always like in the back of my head when I'm in the gym. Well, I'm thinking like, we've got to shock the muscles.
Well, yeah, that's it. And he said, and that's one of the things that really stuck out for me in that video was him saying, you've got to shock it, you've got to vary it up. And so usually I will have a different workout every week.
Right.
The only thing that stays very constant is the compounds, just because they are brilliant exercises.
Yep.
It's like I recently discovered drag curls.
Okay.
Which are an interesting one, but it's not a regular move. Have you done them?
No.
So you have a barbell and you curl, but you pull. So you have your elbows by your side.
Yep.
And as you lift, you pull it towards your chest, and your elbows move outwards.
Okay.
And I can't remember which head of the bicep it trains.
Yeah.
But it's a really interesting one because you're not going up to the top as usual. Because another one, the same PhD student who ruined my calves told me about sevens.
Okay.
Where, so for example, you'll have a barbell and you'll go from your arms being flat out to halfway up. Do that 7 times.
Yeah.
And then go from the middle to the top 7 times, and then the full movement 7 times.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
But when you start out, you could do it once.
Yep.
And then you can't bend your arms.
Yeah. They're very good for like those movements are very good for getting that vascular constriction in the bicep, that pump.
Yeah, that's the only problem. The only problem I found is that the main place I get the pump is in my forearms. I seem to really struggle to get it elsewhere.
Right.
And I don't know if that's not doing enough reps or whatnot. But
that's good. I mean, if you're getting it in your forearms, it means that you're improving your grip.
Okay, I'll take that. Because it comes out. Because the other thing I'd noticed is, the fourth point of what I wish I knew before I started. When you start getting into it, your forearms are going to look like a freaking roadmap.
Yeah.
and so if you're anywhere warm, if you go anywhere warm, like in the venue today, everything's going to come up.
Yeah.
And you go, and it's a bit of a surprise. Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise at first. Because it's kind of going like, oh, hello.
Yeah, I've got lots of veins now. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's just But as you said, with Arnie, he just did so much for bodybuilding, and and for weight training in general, in addition to the discipline as well. Mm-hmm. But it's just, and the fact he's just brilliant now.
Yeah, he's a good ambassador, and obviously all the Arnold Sports Festival stuff that he does.
Oh yeah, of course,
really cool. The Arnolds are coming up soon, actually, in America. So I've seen a few strong men training for that, which is looking pretty good.
Yeah, should be great.
So it's always good. I think it's on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Okay, what are the top 3 things you wish you knew before you formed a band? This band or any band, indeed.
Well, So with Pallas Athena, because we started that from scratch with the Clockwork Opera, I was the last member to join. Mm-hmm. And they'd had several members beforehand, so I joined an established band that had material, that had shows and whatnot. Whereas with this, I just didn't realise how much how much work it takes to set up a band, not only with regards to music and transport arrangements, all this, that, and the other, but more the idea, and as I say, particularly in our genres, is like what image do you want? What themes do you want to go with? And in
the early days, you're everything. You're PR, costume, you're everything.
Yeah, and it's like how much work it takes to establish that identity.
Yeah,
and that I just had no clue. I had absolutely no idea how much work that would be just to set up that alone. Yeah. Keep your files organised.
Yep.
That's because we have a shared drive, and it's sort of okay. The new demo's up. They go, well, which version is it? And obviously everything gets labelled as demo, final. Final.
That sounds familiar.
So to stay on top of the files, because it just starts to get very confusing when you have more than one song.
Yep.
And again, these things take time.
Yep.
One of the problems that I have is that I like stuff done.
Yep.
It's sort of like, we've been a band for a year. Why do I still have to go to my day job?
Yeah, why? Where's my mansion?
Like, not even that. It's like, why can't I just go and do shows?
Yeah, exactly.
But so like, things take time, and also just temper expectations.
Yep.
I will admit that I think this is the first band where I've been in driving seat in the sense of writing, and up until Tom and Al joined us, I was the only driver.
Yep.
And so it's this. I like things to be done, and the problem is that it means that certain disappointments come with it. When, as I say, I think to a certain extent being slightly spoiled with the fact that the response to Pallas Athena has been so good.
Yep.
And in July we got to play in the Netherlands.
That's cool.
And so we've done some amazing things in our first year, and it's that just to keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and
there is no roadmap, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. Is like for me, I like things to be planned. So I like to say, right, there is a show on the 30th of August. It's in Rotherham. That kind of thing. I love that for these things when it's up in the air. Oh, and a fourth point. Not everyone's on the same page as you musically.
No, absolutely not.
And that's and learning to adapt to that.
Yep. All of our stuff is a compromise. Everything you hear is some form of compromise, and often often for the better, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Gloria, for example, is maybe 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Originally it was 5. It was like 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it was part of a project I'd done a very long time ago. But originally that had like a whole, extra 3 minutes of extra riffs and everything.
Yeah.
But we kind of said, it works better as an introduction, as it's like a long intro.
Yeah.
It just gets the point across.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a song in that sense.
Yeah.
As I say, it's very short, and I have a very bad habit of writing very long songs.
Yeah, I think there's a good discipline to learn is to go back through your own song and go, no, that's not needed.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is also for me because I listen to so much stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of go, right, okay, I like this record where the person can play at 250 BPM.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, what do you mean you can't?
Yeah.
So, like for example, hecting, like the rhythm, the sextuplet rhythm.
Yeah.
Originally, that was all 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Originally, it was like proper. It was really fast, but then because Tom could just about do it.
Yeah.
But it was going to be easier. Yeah, it was inconsistent, and also it feels a bit better. And so it's that kind of as I say, that compromise where you go like, and also understanding it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Exactly. There's a lot of moments like that where we get like someone says, "I'm not gonna have trouble with that line, and I would rather do this instead." And you know what? I'm not that wed to the line anyway, but also they're probably right, and they're gonna perform better if they do it that way.
If you're more comfortable with absolutely, and it's that sort of thing. Is that just that learning about compromise? Because if you are like Izal, for example, if you are like a stalwart of the scene, you have the clout to say, right, just get a band and go, here's your sheet music, learn it, play it as is, and that's
and if you can't, I'll find someone who will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you're in the very early stages of a band, and to a certain extent when you're still kind of getting to grips with what everyone can do, because there was a great example, is when we were in a rehearsal this week, Al pointed out, he said, "Oh, there's some there. I just wanted to check. There's some moments of discordance in it." And it was like, "Oh yeah, they are
planned. Yeah,
they're planned." Because I have an unhealthy obsession with, for example, diminished 7 chords.
Yep.
They sound horrible, and I love them. And he sort of was like, "Yeah, they are planned." And he just said, "Well, yeah, it's completely different to what I would write." And he said, "It's like if you come from 2 different worlds, it's." Because he's played like with various tribute acts, and so if you're in a band that's worthy of a tribute act, you're probably not going to be messing around with things like diminished sevenths and tritones and this that, and the other. And so and it's that kind of thing where you kind of you understand, you kind of come to learn that not everyone is on the exact same page as you. It's like I'm still trying to push Alex to play 6-string.
Yeah.
But he's happier playing a 4. That's fine.
Our drummer. His hero is Gene Hoglan.
Oh, right, well.
And obviously Gene's great, right? But basically means that he's really into thrash. And we're a doom band, Gordon. Slow down.
Yeah, exactly. Take your thrash beat and slow it, not half speed, quarter speed, and we're good. But yeah, and these sorts of things is you kind of understand that these people might have these idols and they can't play like them. It's like that's fine. Because I say one of my probably my favorite guitarists is a guy called Syu, SYU. He's a guitarist for Galnerius,
right.
And he is the most musical shredder you've ever heard, and he's got he throws sweeps into the middle of shred runs, and it's fascinating to watch him.
Yeah,
I can't play it.
No, God no.
And I probably could if I had the dedication to sit down and do it. And it's like, and it is the same with when I play drums.
Yeah,
I like to be able to do everything just in case I need it. Yeah. But when it comes to things like shredding, that is a very specific skill to have.
Yeah, exactly. You sort of have to dedicate lots of practice just to that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and obviously it's got next to no place in Pallas Athena.
Yeah, exactly.
There was one song we had, and we might come back to it. With a bit of tweaking, it might be Pallas Athena-ized.
Cool. So if people want to find you online, where can they do it?
So we are present on Pallas Athena. Is present on all of the regular social media platforms. Mm-hmm. We have a website which is pallasathena.band, and that has links to everything: our YouTube channel, as well as Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, personally, I'm getting back into it. I usually post stupid guitar videos covering licks, like little phrases I find interesting, and that's Instagram.com/JamesHorn0, and it's just the number 0 as opposed to the word.
Brilliant, James.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, that was brilliant. So thank you again to James from Pallas Athena for spending the time to do this interview with me. I had to do a lot of cutting down in this interview. We ended up talking for over 3 hours on topics from weightlifting to Arnie to prog rock to, we covered a lot of different stuff. And I think it's really interesting, and I think for quite a lot of you would be interested. But trying to keep these episodes to an hour, just over an hour, and so I have felt it necessary to do some cutting on this one. However, do not fear, because I'm going to release the full episode, the full 3-hour extravaganza, for anyone who wants to listen to it as a bonus bit of content, completely free. It will just be coming out on the channel as normal. You don't need to, there's no Patreon or anything like that. So if you want to hear it, it will be coming out. What else do I need to tell you? So I've been doing a new program called The Bridge, Barbell Medicine. I think we talked about this previously. The Bridge is a sort of like a middle transitional barbell program to get you out of the novice linear progression of starting strength and into an intermediate program. Generally, the pattern is you have a light week, 2 moderate weeks, and then a heavy week, and then you alternate that, and that gives you more time to recover and allows you to continue gaining strength. So I'm enjoying it. It's good. It takes up less of my time each day, but there is one more session every week than there would have been in starting strength, but I am feeling pretty good on it. It's RPE based. It's exertion based rather than just hard number on the bar based, which also helps when I've had a difficult day. An RPE 9, the actual weight of an RPE 9 might change week to week, which is an interesting and new concept for me, but I am enjoying it. What else have we got to come? So those were the 2 interviews we've done. We are going to be interviewing a lot more people. I think the reaction overall has been pretty good. We've also managed to get a lot of interesting guests who have agreed to be on the show, which is fantastic for us. We're also going to try and fit in a bit more strength training content like we did on the first few episodes. I'm going to talk about the bench press probably in our next episode, and talk about a few other movements in later episodes as well. We're going to answer your questions again. If you've got questions, hit the Hella Weights group on Facebook, or you can message @Stormbeard on Twitter. If you've got any questions, we will endeavour to answer them. Equally, if you are somebody who is involved in the heavy music community and the weightlifting community, we would be interested in hearing from you, so please get in touch and we may want to interview you on the show. That'd be really, really cool. This week's track is from none other than Pallas Athena, and it is Summoning. Until next time, stay strong, stay heavy.